Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stood in the main hall of Kepler 7 station. The place was huge, with tall ceilings and walls made of some kind of metal that shimmered in the light. Everywhere he looked there were aliens. Some had forearms, others had scales, and a few glowed softly in the dim corners of the room. Jake had been a soldier for 10 years, but this was only his third time seeing so many different species in one place. He touched the weapon at his side, feeling more comfortable with its weight there. His job was simple: protect the human ambassadors while they talked to the alien leaders. Earth had joined the Galactic Coalition just 2 years ago, and many species still did not trust humans. Some thought humans were too violent. Others thought they were too primitive. "Stay sharp," said his team leader through the comm device in his ear. "Intel says there might be trouble today." Jake nodded to himself and scanned the crowd again. His eyes moved from face to face, looking for anything suspicious. That was when he noticed her. She stood near the far wall, covered in a dark cloak that hid most of her body, but Jake could see her hands, and they were strange. They looked almost like crystal, catching the light and breaking it into tiny rainbows. She was talking to a short, furry alien, but something about her movements made Jake uneasy. She kept looking around, just like he was doing. Before Jake could think more about it, the lights went out. Screams filled the darkness. Then came the explosions. 3 of them, one after another, shaking the entire station. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Jake's training took over. He ran toward where the ambassadors were supposed to be, pushing through the panicking crowd. Another explosion went off, this one much closer. The force of it threw Jake sideways into a wall. His ears rang and smoke filled his lungs. He coughed hard and tried to stand up. That was when he saw her again. The woman with crystal hands was on the ground, her cloak torn away. Her entire body seemed to be made of the same crystal material, glowing faintly from within. Blue liquid was leaking from a wound in her side. She was not moving. Jake knew he should find the ambassadors. That was his job, but he could not leave someone to die. He crawled over to her and checked for a pulse. Her skin was cool and hard under his fingers, but he felt something like a heartbeat, slow and weak. "Hang on," he said, even though she probably could not hear him. He pulled off his jacket and pressed it against her wound, trying to stop the bleeding. The blue liquid soaked through the fabric quickly. Jake looked around for help, but everyone was running away or lying injured. He was on his own. The woman's eyes opened. They were completely silver with no whites or pupils. She stared at him, and Jake felt something strange in his mind, like someone was knocking on a door inside his head. "I need to get you out of here," Jake said. "Can you walk?" She did not answer, but she tried to sit up. The movement made her wound bleed faster. Jake swore under his breath. He had basic medical training, but he had never treated an alien before. He did not even know if their bodies worked the same way as humans. His eyes fell on his emergency medical kit. Inside was a blood clotting agent and a trauma sealant. It was designed for humans, but maybe it would work on her too. He had to try something. Jake opened the kit and pulled out a small injector. "This might hurt," he warned her. Then he pressed it against her wound and released the medicine. Her body went rigid, and she made a sound like wind chimes crashing together. Jake pulled back, worried he had made things worse, but then the bleeding slowed down. The wound started to close, the edges of crystal growing together like ice forming on water. It worked, Jake said, surprised. The woman grabbed his wrist. Her grip was strong, much stronger than he expected. She pulled his hand close to her wound, and before Jake could stop her, she pressed his bleeding knuckles against the blue liquid still leaking from her side. Pain shot through Jake's entire body. It felt like lightning was running through his veins. His vision went white, and he heard that wind chime sound again, but louder, coming from inside his own head. Images flashed through his mind, tall crystal towers, a throne room filled with light, thousands of faces that were not human. Then it stopped. Jake fell backward, gasping for air. His hand felt like it was on fire. When he looked down, he saw strange marks on his skin, glowing faintly blue before fading away. "What did you do to me?" he asked. The woman sat up fully now. Her wound was almost completely healed. She looked at Jake with those silver eyes, and this time when she spoke, he heard her voice, both out loud and inside his head. "I am Sailor," she said, "and you have just saved my life, but you have also bound yourself to me. We are connected now. Human, your fate and mine are one." Jake stared at her, not understanding. "What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, soldiers in coalition armor into the hall. They saw Celera and immediately dropped to one knee. Their heads bowed. "Your Majesty," one of them said, "we must get you to safety." Immediately, Jake's stomach dropped. "Majesty," he looked at the woman again. Really looked at her. Now that her cloak was gone, he could see she wore fine clothes underneath, decorated with symbols he did not recognize. A thin crown of crystal rested on her head, so delicate he had not noticed it before. "You are a queen?" he asked weakly. Solara stood up, and despite being shorter than Jake, she suddenly seemed much taller. "I am the queen of the Valeth Empire," she said, "and you, human warrior, are now bound to me by the ancient right of blood and life. Where I go, you must follow. If I die, you die. This cannot be undone." Jake felt like the ground was falling away beneath him. This had to be a mistake. All he did was help someone who was hurt. That was what any decent person would do. How could that turn into something like this? There has to be a way to reverse it. Jake said, "I did not know. I was just trying to help." Silara's expression softened slightly. "I know this was not your fault. It was not mine either. But the bond is formed. The Vale Council will want to meet you. You must come with me to my home world. I cannot just leave." Jake protested. "I have duties here. I'm a soldier for Earth. You have new duties now," Solara said. She turned to her guards. "Take him to my ship. Treat him with respect. He saved my life, even if he has complicated both of ours in the process." The guards moved toward Jake. He thought about running, about fighting, but what good would it do? He was one man surrounded by alien soldiers on a space station far from Earth, and if what this queen said was true, if they really were connected now, running would not solve anything. As they led him away, Jake looked back at Silara one more time. She was watching him with an expression he could not read. Was it regret, anger, curiosity? Whatever it was, Jake knew his life had just changed forever. One act of kindness had tied him to an alien queen. Now he had to figure out what that meant, and if there was any way to undo it. But deep down in a part of his mind that still felt strange and knew he could sense her emotions like they were his own. She was tired, scared, and lonely. And she was just as trapped by this as he was. That thought did not make Jake feel better, but at least he knew he was not suffering alone. The ship that took Jake to the Vale home world was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls were made of clear crystal, and he could see stars passing by as they traveled. The crew members all looked like Queen Solar, their bodies made of that same crystalline material in different colors. Some were blue, others green or purple. They all stared at Jake as he walked through the corridors. Jake had his own room, which was more like a cell. Despite the nice furniture, he could not leave without guards following him. He had tried to contact Earth, but the communication systems were locked. For 3 days of travel, he was alone with his thoughts and the strange new feeling in the back of his mind. That feeling was Jake could sense her even when she was not near him. Sometimes he felt sudden waves of sadness or anger that he knew were not his own. It was uncomfortable, like wearing someone else's clothes. On the 4th day, the ship arrived at Crystallis Prime. Jake pressed his face against the window as the planet came into view. It was beautiful in a way that made his chest hurt. Massive towers of crystal rose from the surface, some so tall they seemed to touch space itself. They caught the light of the sun and scattered it across the planet in ribbons of color. Impressive, is it not? Said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Solara standing in his doorway. She wore different clothes now, more formal, with a long cape that dragged on the floor. Her crown was bigger too, made of sharp crystal spikes that pointed upward. It looks fragile, Jake said honestly. Solara's expression hardened. Looks can be deceiving. Human. My people have lived here for 10,000 years. These towers have survived war, storms, and time itself. Sorry, Jake said, though he was not sure why he was apologizing. I just meant it is different from Earth. We build with stone and metal. Solara walked further into the room. I have been studying your world since the bonding. You have only been in space for a short time. Your technology is primitive compared to most species in the coalition. Jake felt his temper rise. Maybe our technology is not as fancy, but we are not primitive. We have survived plagues, wars, and disasters that would have killed weaker species. Yet you were nearly destroyed by your own conflicts. Solara pointed out. Your world wars killed millions. Your weapons almost made your planet uninhabitable. We learned from those mistakes. Jake shot back. We are still here, are we not? Still fighting, still growing. For a moment they stared at each other in silence. Then Solara did something unexpected. She smiled just a little. You have spirit, she said. Good, you will need it for what comes next. The ship landed in the capital city. Jake was taken through streets filled with Valeth citizens who stopped and stared at him. Some pointed and whispered, others made gestures that Jake assumed were not friendly. The palace was the largest structure Jake had ever seen. It rose from the center of the city like a mountain made of diamond. Inside, everything was decorated with intricate carvings and paintings that seemed to move when Jake looked at them. He was brought to a large chamber where dozens of Vale waited. They all wore formal robes and serious expressions. At the center of them sat an old Valeth man with cracks running through his crystal body like he might break apart at any moment. Queen Solara, the old man said. His voice was deep and cold. You return to us bonded to an outsider. Explain yourself, Selara. Stood straight and proud, High Chancellor. Vorin, I was attacked at the Coalition Summit. This human saved my life. Bond was formed by accident during emergency medical treatment. He did not know our customs. Vor looked at Jake like he was an insect, accident or not. The bond exists. This is unprecedented. Never has a Vale Royal been bonded to an alien, especially not one from such primitive species. Jake felt his hands clench into fists. He was getting tired of being called primitive. The bond must be studied. Boren continued. If there is any way to break it without killing both parties, we will find it. Until then, the human will remain here and learn our ways. He is now technically part of our royal family. Those words caused an uproar in the chamber. Vale nobles shouted at each other, their voices mixing together into a sound like breaking glass. Jake could not understand most of what they said, but he got the basic idea. They did not want him here. That night Jake was given quarters in the palace. They were fancy, but felt like a prison. He had servants who brought him food he could not identify and clothes that did not fit right. He refused most of it and sat by the window looking out at the crystal city below. He could feel Solara again. She was somewhere else in the palace and she was upset. Jake tried to ignore it, but the feeling kept getting stronger. Finally, he could not take it anymore. He left his room, ignoring the guards who tried to stop him, and followed the feeling like it was a map. He found Silara on a high balcony overlooking the city. She was alone, her hands gripping the crystal railing so hard Jake thought she might break it. You should not be here, she said without turning around. I could feel you, Jake said. Your emotions, they are loud. Silara laughed, but it was not a happy sound. The bond, yes, I can feel you too. Human, your anger, your fear, your frustration, it is exhausting. My name is Jake, he said. You keep calling me human, but I have a name. She turned to look at him. In the moonlight, her crystal body glowed softly. Very well, Jake, and I am Silara, not Queen or your Majesty. If we are to be stuck together, we might as well use our names. Jake walked to the railing and stood beside her. I did not mean for any of this to happen, I know, Silara said quietly. Neither did I. I went to that summit in disguise because I was trying to find allies. My empire is dying, Jake. We are losing territory to the Krell Dominion. Our people are leaving the outer colonies. Our birth rate has dropped. In a few generations, there might not be any Valeth left. Jake looked at her in surprise. I did not know it was that bad. No one does. I keep it secret to avoid panic. But I am running out of time and options. I thought maybe the younger species in the coalition could help, species like yours who still have fire in them, and instead you got stuck with me, Jake said. Silara was quiet for a moment. The bond is not a curse, Jake. To my people it is sacred. It means our lives are linked. If you die, I die. If I am in danger, you will feel it and come to help. In the old days it was how our warriors and rulers stayed connected during battles, but you did not choose this, Jake said, and neither did I. Know, Sarah agreed, but it is done. We can either fight it and make ourselves miserable, or we can try to make the best of it. Jake thought about that. He thought about Earth, about his life as a soldier, about all the things he would be giving up if he stayed here. But he also thought about that moment on the station when he saw Solara bleeding and knew he had to help. He was not the kind of person who walked away from someone in need. Okay, he said, I will try, but you have to help me understand your people, and you have to let me contact Earth. They probably think I am dead or captured. Sylara nodded. I will arrange it, and Jake, thank you for saving me even though it has cost you so much. I would do it again, Jake said. And he realized he meant it. Over the next few weeks, Jake tried to learn Valith customs. It was hard. Everything was formal and complicated. There were rules for how to speak, how to stand, even how to eat. Jake broke most of them without meaning to, and he could see the disapproval on the faces of the nobles. But he also started to understand his bond with Sylara better. When they were near each other, they could sense emotions clearly. Sometimes Jake would know what Sylara was thinking before she said it. Other times she would move in battle practice like she knew exactly where he would strike. Because yes, they practiced fighting together. It was Sylara's idea, she said. If they were bonded, they should know how to work together. Jake was surprised to find she was an excellent fighter. Fast and precise, her crystal body was stronger than it looked. Then came the day when everything changed. A message arrived from the outer colonies. The Krell were attacking and they were winning. Thousands of Vale were trapped on a colony world with no way to escape. The Valith military wanted to respond with honor, challenging the Krell to formal combat. Jake listened to their plan and shook his head. That will not work, he said. The Krell do not care about honor. They will just kill everyone while you are busy making speeches. High Chancellor Vorn glared at him. And what would a primitive human suggest? Jake stood up. Let me lead defense mission. I will use tactics your people have not seen before. We can save those colonists if we move fast and fight smart. The nobles argued, but Sylara raised her hand for silence. Let him try. What do we have to lose? Everything, Jake thought, but he did not say it out loud. Jake stood on the bridge of a Vale warship, studying the holographic display of the colony world. Below, the planet was called Vion 4 and it was under siege. Krell ships surrounded it like predators circling wounded prey. On the surface, 10,000 Valith civilians were hiding in shelters, waiting for rescue that might never come. Your plan is madness, said Commander Krell, the Vale officer assigned to assist Jake. Despite his unfortunate name, he was not related to the enemy species. We should engage their fleet directly and drive them away with superior firepower. Jake shook his head. Your ships are better one-on-one, but they outnumber you 3-1. Direct fight means you lose. We need to be smarter, and hiding is smart. Krell asked with obvious disdain. It is not hiding, Jake corrected. It is ambush tactics. We make them think we are weaker than we are. We split their forces. We hit them where they do not expect it. Sylara stood beside Jake, her arms crossed. Explain your plan again, slowly, so Commander Krell can understand. Jake pulled up the tactical map. The Krell are arrogant. They think they have already won, so we give them what they expect. We send 3 ships to attack their main fleet head-on. They will look like a desperate rescue attempt. We will be destroyed, Krell said. Not if you retreat at the right time, Jake said. You engage, make them chase you, lead them away from the planet while they are busy with you. The rest of our ships drop behind the Planet's moon, we come in low under their sensor range and land troops on the surface. We fortify the civilian shelters and prepare defenses, and when they realize the trick, Silura asked, they will send ships back, but by then we will have ground positions. Krello are good in space, but on the ground, we can hold them long enough for reinforcements to arrive, Commander. Krell looked skeptical. The Veil do not fight from defensive positions. We face our enemies with honor. Jake felt his patience wearing thin. Honor will not save those people down there. Results will. You can be honorable and dead, or you can win. Choose. Seller put a hand on Krell's shoulder. We do this Jake's way. That is an order. The plan went into motion. Jake watched as 3 Veilith ships approached the Kree fleet, weapons firing. The Krello took the bait. Their ships broke formation to chase the attackers, just like Jake predicted. Meanwhile, Jake's ship and 5 others slipped around the moon and dove toward the planet. The landing was rough. Veil's ships were not designed for atmospheric entry at high speed. Jake held onto his seat as the ship shook and rattled beside him. Silura remained calm, though Jake could feel her nervousness through their bond. They landed outside the main civilian shelter. Jake was first off the ship, his weapon ready. The Veilith soldiers followed along with Silura and her personal guard. Spread out, Jake ordered. I want defensive positions on those ridges. Set up shield generators here and here. Anyone with engineering knowledge reinforce the shelter entrance. Move. The Veil soldiers hesitated, looking at their own officers for confirmation. They were not used to taking orders from a human. Do what he says, Silura commanded. Now that got them moving, Jake ran toward the shelter entrance where frightened Veil civilians were watching. An elderly Veil woman approached him. Are you here to save us? She asked. I'm here to help you. Save yourselves, Jake said. Can you fight? The woman straightened. I was a soldier once before I retired to this colony. Good. Gather anyone else who can hold a weapon. We are going to need everyone. Within an hour, Jake had transformed the area into a fortress. Shield generators created overlapping barriers. Weapon emplacements covered all approaches. Civilians who could fight were given positions. Those who could not were moved to the deepest part of the shelter. Then the Krell came. Jake watched through his scope as Krell dropships descended from orbit. The Krell were big creatures twice as tall as humans, with thick armor plating and multiple arms. They carried heavy weapons and moved with confidence. Hold fire, Jake said into the calm. Let them get closer. He could feel Silara's tension through the bond. She was at his side, her own weapon ready. How close? She asked. Closer, Jake said. His finger rested on the trigger. Closer. The Krello were 50 m away now, marching in formation. They had not seen the hidden defenses yet. Now Jake shouted. The ridge line erupted with weapons fire. Krell soldiers fell there, formation breaking. The survivors tried to return fire, but the shield generators absorbed most of it. Jake's positioned crossfire cut them down. First wave was repelled, but Jake knew more would come. They will be ready next time, Commander Krell said, joining Jake on the ridge. They know our positions now. Let them come, Jake said. We have the high ground and better cover. They have to come to us. Second wave hit an hour later. This time the Krello brought heavier weapons, their plasma cannons hammered the shields until they started to fail. Jake ordered a tactical retreat to secondary positions. This is not working, Krello said. We cannot hold. Jake looked around. He was right. They were slowly being pushed back, but Jake noticed something. The Krello were focusing all their attention on the main entrance. They had forgotten about the side passages. I have an idea, Jake said, but it is risky. Sylara looked at him through their bond. She could sense what he was thinking. You want to go out? They're behind their lines. Someone needs to. Jake said, if we can take out their command vehicle, they will fall into disarray. Kreller like that. Without leadership they panic. Then I am going with you, Sylara said. No, Jake protested. It is too dangerous. If you die, I die. We both know that. Sylara smiled grimly. And if you die, I die. So I have every reason to keep you alive. We go together or not at all. Jake wanted to argue, but he could feel her determination through the bond. She would not change her mind. Fine, he said, but we do this my way. Stay close and follow my lead. They slipped out through a maintenance tunnel that led away from the battle. Jake moved quietly, using every bit of cover. Sylara followed, and Jake was impressed by how quietly she could move despite her crystal body. The Krell command vehicle was easy to find. It was the biggest one, covered in communication equipment. 4 guards stood around it, but they were watching the battle ahead, not behind. Jake signaled to Sylara. 3 fingers. 2-1. They struck together. Jake took down 2 guards before they could react. Sylara's crystal blade cut through the 3rd. The 4th tried to sound an alarm, but Jake silenced him with a precise shot. Plant the charges, Jake told Sylara. She placed small explosives on the vehicle's power core while Jake watched for more enemies. They were halfway back to the tunnel when the charges exploded. The command vehicle went up in a massive fireball that lit up the dark sky. Jake and Sylara ran as confusion spread through the Krell ranks. Without orders, the Krell attack faltered. Some retreated, others fought on, but without coordination. Jake's forces pushed forward, driving them back. By dawn, the Krell had withdrawn completely, retreating to their ships' orbit. The colony was saved. Jake stood among the celebrating Valeth, exhausted but alive. Sylara approached him, her face streaked with dust and damage from the fight. You did it, she said. You saved them all. We did it, Jake corrected. I could not have done that without you watching my back. Sylara surprised him by pulling him into an embrace. Jake stiffened at first, then relaxed. Through their bond he could feel what she was feeling: relief, gratitude, and something else, something warmer. Thank you, Jake, she whispered, for showing us there is another way to fight, for proving that humans are not primitive. Jake pulled back and looked at her. Your people are not weak either. They just needed to try something different. News of the victory spread quickly. When Jake returned to Crystal's prime, something had changed. The nobles who once looked at him with contempt now showed respect. Common Valeth in the streets called out to him, thanking him for saving their relatives. Even High Chancellor Vorin could not deny Jake's success. You have proven yourself useful, human, he said grudgingly at a council meeting. Perhaps there is wisdom in this bond after all. But Jake could see the hatred still burning in Vorin's eyes. The old chancellor had lost face, and men like him did not forget such things. That night Jake found Sylara in her private garden, a place where Crystal Flowers grew in impossible colors. You look troubled, she said. Jake sat beside her. Foreign hates me, I can see it, and I bet I am not the only one. This victory bought us respect, but it also made enemies. Let them hate. Solara said, we did what was right, we saved lives, that is what matters. Jake looked at her. When did you start saying we? Solara smiled. When I realized that is what we are now. We are not just bound by accident anymore, Jake. We chose to work together. We chose to trust each other. That means something. Jake felt warmth spread through his chest. Yeah, it does. They sat together in silence, watching the crystal flowers glow in the moonlight. Jake knew there would be more challenges ahead, more battles, more enemies, more people who wanted to break their bond, but for the first time since the accident on HFY station, Jake did not want to run away. He did not want to break the bond. He wanted to see where this path led. With Solara at his side, maybe fate had made a mistake bringing them together. Or maybe fate knew exactly what it was doing. 6 months had passed since the battle at Vian 4. Jake stood in the war room of the palace, studying reports from the front lines. The news was not good. The Krill had regrouped and were pushing into Valeth territory with renewed force. Every day brought word of another lost colony, another defeat. Fleet beside him, Sarah looked exhausted. Jake could feel it through their bond. She barely slept anymore, spending her nights trying to find solutions to problems that seemed impossible to solve. We are running out of resources, she said quietly. Ships, soldiers, supplies, everything. Even with your tactics, we are just delaying the inevitable. There has to be something we can do, Jake said, before Solara could respond. The door burst open. Commander Lisa Hayes strode in, wearing the uniform of Earth Defense Forces. Jake had not seen her in months, not since he left Kepler 7 station. Lisa, Jake said in surprise. What are you doing here? I am here as Earth's official liaison, Lisa said. Her expression was hard to read, and to talk some sense into you. She threw a data pad onto the table. Earth Command wants you back, Jake. They say you have gone native, that you have forgotten where your loyalties lie. Jake felt his jaw tighten. My loyalties are right here, helping people who need it. These are not your people, Lisa said sharply. You are human, Jake. You belong on Earth, not playing house with an alien queen. Solara stepped forward, her eyes flashing with anger. You have no right to speak to him that way. I have every right, Lisa shot back. He is one of ours, and you are keeping him here against his will with this bond of yours. It was an accident, Solara said. I did not force this on him, but you are not letting him go, either are you, Lisa challenged. If there is a way to break the bond, you have not tried very hard to find it. The words hit harder than Jake expected. He looked at Solara and felt confusion through their bond, because Lisa was not entirely wrong. The Veil scientists had found a way to sever the bond months ago, but neither Jake nor Solara had talked about it. There is a way, Solara admitted quietly. It requires a specific ritual and a massive amount of energy. It would be painful, but it would work. Jake stared at her. You never told me. You never asked, Sarah said. I thought you wanted to stay. Lisa crossed her arms. See, she is manipulating you, Jake. She needs you for her war, so she is keeping you here. That is not true, Solara said, but her voice lacked conviction. Jake felt anger building inside him. Anger at Lisa for showing up and making accusations, anger at Sela for keeping secrets, but mostly anger at himself for not seeing this coming. I need time to think, he said. Both of you get out. Lisa looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Jake's expression stopped her. She left, slamming the door behind her. Solara lingered for a moment. Jake, she began. Not now. Jake said, please. Solara left, and Jake could feel her hurt through the bond. It made his own chest ache, but he pushed the feeling away. He needed to think clearly. Over the next week, Lisa kept pushing. She showed Jake reports from Earth, reminding him of everything he left behind: his family, his friends, career. She painted a picture of a life he could have again if he just broke the bond and came home. And the worst part, Jake was tempted. He found himself standing in front of the ritual chamber where the bond could be broken. The veil had prepared everything. All he and Solara had to do was step inside, endure the pain, and they would be free. Are you going to do it? Solara asked from behind him. Jake turned. She looked smaller, somehow more fragile. I do not know. Are you? Solara walked to stand beside him. I told myself I would let you choose, that I would not influence your decision. But Jake, she stopped, struggling with the words. I do not want you to go. Why? Jake asked. Because you need me for the war. No, Solara said. Because somewhere along the way, I started to care about you, not as a bonded warrior, not as a useful ally. Just as you. Jake felt his resolve waver. Solara, I know it is selfish, she continued. I know you gave up everything to be here, your life, your world, your people, and I have given you nothing but war and hardship in return. You deserve better. You deserve better too, Jake said. You did not ask for any of this either. They stood in silence, both struggling with feelings they had not expected to develop. The bond had started as an accident, a burden they both resented, but over months of fighting together, trusting each other, saving each other, it had become something more. I think I love you, Jake said suddenly. The words surprised him as much as they surprised Solara. I know that is crazy. We are different species. This whole situation is impossible. But I do. Solara's eyes widened. I feel the same way. I have for a while now, but I thought you wanted to leave. Part of me does, Jake admitted. Part of me wants to go back to Earth, to a simple life where I do not have to worry about alien politics and impossible wars. But the other part, he took her crystal hand in his human one, the other part cannot imagine leaving you. Before they could say more, alarms blared throughout the palace. A soldier ran up to them. Your Majesty, we are under attack. The Krell have launched a massive assault. They are targeting the ritual site. Jake's blood ran cold. They know someone told them about the ritual, Voron, Solara said. With certainty, he wants us both dead. If we are killed during the ritual while our defenses are down, the bond ensures we both die. They ran toward the command center. On the screens, Jake could see Krell ships descending through the atmosphere, hundreds of them, more than he had ever seen before. This is their final push, Commander Krell said. They are throwing everything at us. Lisa was there too. My ship is in orbit. We can evacuate key personnel. Jake, this is your chance. Come with me now and you can go home. Jake looked at the screens at the incoming Crow forces. Then he looked at Solara. Through their Bond, he could feel her fear, her determination, and her love for her. People, I'm not going anywhere, Jake said. He turned to Solara. We cancel the ritual, we stay bonded and we fight. Jake, you do not have to do this, Solara said. Yes, I do, Jake said, because you were right. We are not just bonded by accident anymore. We chose this. We choose each other, and I choose to stand with you whatever comes. Sellers' face showed a mix of emotions, relief, joy, fear, and love all at once. Then we fight together. They organized the defense quickly. Jay coordinated the military response while Solara rallied her people. Lisa, despite her earlier words, agreed to stay and help. Her ship joined the Valeth fleet in orbit. The battle was brutal. Krello forces hit the city from multiple directions. Jake's tactics helped, but there were just too many enemies. Slowly they were being pushed back toward the palace. Jake fought alongside Valeth soldiers, his weapon cutting down Krell attackers. Near him, Solara used her crystal blade with deadly precision. Through their bond they moved as one, anticipating each other's actions perfectly. We cannot hold much longer, Commander Krell reported. They are breaking through the eastern defenses. Jake looked at the tactical map. The Krell were focusing their assault on one area, trying to punch through to the palace. If they succeeded, the entire city would fall. There, Jake said, pointing to the Krell command ship hovering above the city. That is their weak point. If we can take that ship down, their forces will lose coordination. How? Solara asked. Our fleet cannot get close. Their defenses are too strong. Jake had a crazy idea, a dangerous, possibly suicidal idea, but it might work. The bond, he said, you told me it was used in ancient times to power weapons. What if we tried that? Seller's eyes widened. That ritual has not been performed in centuries. It is incredibly dangerous. The energy feedback could kill us both. If we do nothing, we die anyway, Jake said, and so does everyone in this city. Solara looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded together. Then they ran to the palace's central chamber, an ancient room designed for Valeth bonding rituals, energy conduits lined the walls, dormant for generations. Jake and Solara stood in the center, joining hands. I do not know if this will work, Solara admitted. Only one way to find out, Jake said. He squeezed her hand. Whatever happens, I do not regret this. Any of it, neither do I, said. Then she began the ritual. Energy flowed between them. Jake felt it like electricity in his veins. The bond, usually a quiet presence in his mind, roared to life. He could feel Solara's thoughts, her memories, her very essence mixing with his own. It hurt. It felt like he was being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. But through the pain, Jake felt something else. Power, raw, incredible power. The energy built until Jake thought he would explode. Then Solara directed it outward, channeling it through the palace's ancient systems. Beam of pure light shot from the palace tower, striking the Krell command ship. The ship's shields held for a moment. Then they shattered. The beam punched through the hull, and the entire ship exploded in a fireball that lit up the sky. Jake and Solara collapsed, the energy draining from them, around them. The palace systems went dark, overloaded by the power surge, but it worked. Without their command ship, the Krill forces fell into chaos. The Valeth defenders pushed forward, driving them back. Within hours, the battle was won. Jake woke up in Solara's arms. They were Both alive though barely, their bond felt different now, stronger. 1 year had passed since the great battle. Jake stood on the observation deck of the new Joint Human Valeth Station, watching ships from both worlds dock side by side. It still amazed him to see human vessels working alongside crystal Valeth ships, two species that a year ago barely knew each other. You are thinking loudly again, Solara said. Joining him at the window, she wore simpler clothes now, less formal than the royal robes she used to favor. Jake had convinced her that being a queen did not mean she had to be uncomfortable all the time. Sorry, Jake said. I was just thinking about how much has changed. Saya took his hand. Their bond had evolved over the past year. It was no longer the uncomfortable intrusion it once was. Now it felt natural, like breathing. They could sense each other's general feelings without the overwhelming rush of emotions from before. Earth and Crystallis Prime have established 3 trading posts, Silara said. Our scientists are sharing technology, human doctors are learning Valeth medicine, our children are learning about Earth in schools, and they Krell. Jake asked. Solara's expression darkened. They have retreated to their core systems, but they are not defeated. Just waiting. Jake nodded. He knew the peace was fragile, but it was peace, and that was something worth protecting. Your Majesty, a voice called. It was Commander Krell, who now served as the head of the Joint Defense Force. Ceremony is about to begin. Jake and Silara followed him to the main hall. Hundreds of beings filled the space. Humans and Vale standing together. At the front stood representatives from both worlds, ready to sign the official alliance treaty. As they took their seats, Jake felt a familiar presence. Nearby, Lisa Hayes stood with the Earth delegation, now promoted to Admiral. She caught his eye and nodded with respect. The ceremony began. Speeches were made about unity, cooperation, and the future. Jake listened but found his mind wandering. He thought about that day on Kepler 7 station when a simple act of kindness changed everything. If he could go back and choose differently, would he save Silara, knowing what would come after? He looked at her, at the Crystal Queen who had become the center of his world. Through their bond, he felt her love for him steady and strong. Yes, he would make the same choice every time. After the ceremony, there was a celebration. Jake found himself surrounded by people wanting to thank him. Faith, who he had saved, humans who admired his courage, aliens from other species interested in the bond that had united 2 worlds. It was overwhelming. Jake slipped away to a quiet balcony, needing a moment alone. Running away from your own party? A voice asked. High Chancellor Vorin emerged from the shadows. Jake tensed, his hand moving toward his weapon. Relax, human, Vorin said. I'm not here to fight. Then why are you here? Jake asked. You made it clear you hate me. Voron was quiet for a moment. I did hate you. You represented everything I feared. Change, the unknown, the possibility that our old ways might not be enough. He looked out at the stars. But I was wrong. You saved my people. When I could not, you showed us new ways to survive. So you are saying thank you? Jake asked, surprised. I am saying I was a fool, Foreign said, and that perhaps fate knew what it was doing when it brought you to us. He turned to leave, then paused. Take care of our queen, Jake Morrison. She deserves happiness after carrying the weight of our empire for so long. After Vorn left, Jake stood alone with his thoughts. A year ago, he was just a soldier following orders. Now he was something more. Bridge between worlds, a symbol of unity, and most importantly, someone who had found love in the most unexpected place. There you are, Solara said, stepping onto the balcony. I felt you out here. Through the bond, just needed some air. Jake said. Solara moved beside him. Voron spoke to you. I felt your surprise. He apologized. Jake said, I did not think he had it in him. People can change. Sarah said, you changed me. Jake looked at her. How? You made me remember why I became queen, Sarah said. Not for power or tradition, but to protect my people. You showed me that strength comes from working together, not standing alone. She smiled. And you loved me when I thought I was unlovable. You are very lovable, Jake said softly. Even if you are made of crystal and can read my emotions. Solara laughed. That wind chime sound Jake had grown to love. And you are lovable even if you are fragile and cannot read my emotions. Hey, I'm getting better at that, Jake protested. They stood together looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there the Krello were planning their next move. Other threats lurked in the galaxy, but Jake was not afraid. He had Solara, and together they were stronger than any challenge. Jake, Solara said quietly, there is something I need to tell you. Jake felt nervousness through their bond. What is it? The scientists studying our bond made a discovery. Solara said, when we used it to power the palace weapon, something changed. The bond expanded somehow. How? Jake asked. Do you remember the volunteers who tried to help during the battle? Solara asked. The ones who connected to the ritual chamber. Jake nodded. They said they felt connected to us. That connection did not fade. Solara said, they can still sense each other. Not as strongly as we sense each other, but it is there. Jake, we might have accidentally created the beginning of a new kind of bond, one that could connect entire communities. Jake's mind raced with the implications that could change everything. Imagine if humans and Vale could sense each other's emotions. There would be no misunderstandings, no lies, just pure understanding. It could bring true unity. Solara agreed. Or it could be dangerous. The scientists do not fully understand it yet. We will figure it out, Jake said with confidence. We always do. Movement in the crowd below caught Jake's eye. Lisa was waving at him, pointing to her wrist. It was time for another meeting, another negotiation, another step toward a better future. Duty calls, Jake said. It always does, Solara replied. But Jake, thank you for what? For saving my life that day, Solara said. For choosing to stay, for loving me. Despite everything, Jake pulled her close. I would do it all again, every moment, every choice. They kissed, human and alien, two beings who should never have met, but who now could not imagine being apart. The bond between them glowed softly, a testament to the power of connection, love, and fate. As they walked back to the celebration together, Jake thought about the future. There would be more challenges. The Krill would return. Other species might challenge the human-Valeth alliance. Political tensions would arise, but Jake was not afraid. He had found his place in the galaxy, not as a soldier, not as a warrior, but as something more important, a partner, a bridge, a symbol of what different species could achieve when they worked together. The bond that started as a mistake had become the foundation of something beautiful, too. Civilizations united, two people in love and a future full of possibilities. Years later, historians would debate the moment when humanity truly joined the galactic community. Some would point to first contact, others to the formation of trade agreements or military alliances, but those who were there, who witnessed it firsthand, knew the truth. The moment everything changed was when a human warrior saved an alien queen and accidentally bound himself to her fate. From that one act of kindness came an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. Jake Morrison never set out to be a hero. He never wanted to be part of destiny or fate. He just wanted to do the right thing. Sometimes that is all it takes to change the world. Sierra stood beside him during a speech to both human and Valeth citizens. She spoke of unity, hope, and the future they would build together. Jake felt her love and determination through their bond, and he added his own strength to hers. We are not just two species working together, Sierra said to the crowd. We are family, and family protects each other. The crowd erupted in cheers, humans and Valeth together, celebrating not their differences but their unity. Jake looked at Sierra and smiled. She smiled back. And in that moment Jake knew the truth. Fate had not made a mistake bringing them together. Fate had given them exactly what they needed, each other. The bond would last their lifetime. The alliance would last generations. And the story of how a human warrior accidentally became part of an alien queen's fate would be told for centuries to come. But for Jake and Sierra it was not about legend or history. It was about love, choice, and the incredible journey that started with a simple act of kindness. They walked into the future together, bonded by fate, united by choice, and strengthened by love. Two beings from different worlds who proved that sometimes the best things in life are the ones we never planned for. And somewhere in the stars, new bonds were forming, new alliances were being built, and new stories were beginning. All because one human warrior made a choice that changed everything. The fate that bound Jake and Sarah was no longer a burden, it was a gift, and they would spend the rest of their lives honoring it, protecting it, and showing the galaxy that love truly does transcend all boundaries. In the end, they were not just a human warrior and an alien queen, they were partners, equals, and proof that when two souls connect, nothing in the universe can keep them apart. Their story was just beginning, and the best part, they would write it together.